Ibrahim Traoré stepped into Bean Haven, his well-worn sneakers and faded jeans standing in stark contrast to the pristine decor and polished uniforms of the baristas and staff around him. It was his first day as the newly appointed manager, and the air in the coffee shop felt thick with uncertainty. The once thriving spot had fallen on hard times after Lisa's management, with complaints from both customers and staff becoming more frequent. But Ibrahim was no stranger to tough situations, and this was exactly the kind of challenge he was built for. The usual hum of Bean Haven was quieter that morning, almost hesitant, as if the shop itself was holding its breath. The shelves were stocked with premium coffee beans, and the aroma of fresh espresso filled the air. But the energy in the room was far from the vibrant atmosphere it used to have. Staff members exchanged uneasy glances, their eyes flickering to Ibrahim, unsure of what to expect from the new manager. Ibrahim had been the regional manager for years. But here, he wasn't just another boss. He was a man who had been through the trenches, someone who had learned that leadership was about respect, trust, and action, not just authority. As he walked past the counter, he could hear the whispers behind him. It was clear that Lisa's departure hadn't been well received by everyone. Some of the staff had fallen into complacency, knowing that Lisa's fiery temper and unpredictable behavior meant that they could get away with more. They'd never had a real leader who valued their input, who understood that a team was only as strong as the communication that held it together. Ibrahim knew he would have to make them see that change was not just necessary, it was imperative. He stood before the staff, his voice calm but firm as he addressed them. I know things have been tough. I'm not here to sugarcoat it. But Lisa's way of running things ended this shop's reign as one of the best in the area. We've lost customers. We've lost trust. But I'm not here to dwell on the past. Starting today, things are going to change. The staff shifted, some raising their eyebrows in surprise, others watching with guarded expressions. Ibrahim's presence alone was enough to make them listen, but his words struck a chord with them too. They were tired of the toxicity, tired of feeling uncertain about whether they'd still have a job the next day. I'm not here to fire people. I'm here to build something better, something that we can all be proud of. But to do that, we all have to be on the same page. We'll support each other, and I promise you, we'll turn this place around. There was a hesitant pause. Ibrahim let the weight of his words sink in before continuing. Tomorrow, Clara starts as our new manager. She's experienced, and she knows how to run a team. This is a fresh start for all of us. Stick with me, and I promise you'll see the results. It won't be easy, but we will fix this together. A ripple of quiet acknowledgement passed through the group. Clara was well known for her efficiency and her no-nonsense approach to management, and many of the staff had worked with her in other locations. Still, it wasn't enough to convince everyone, and Ibrahim could sense the skepticism. That was to be expected. Change was hard, and even harder when the scars of bad management were still fresh. But he was determined. Ibrahim had a vision for this place, and he knew it would take time to restore Bean Haven to its former glory. By the end of the day, Ibrahim had spoken to each employee individually, listening to their concerns. From broken equipment to long shifts and complaints about how Lisa treated them, the issues were clear. Ibrahim made notes, promising to address every one of them. He wasn't just here to manage, he was here to lead and to make the staff feel valued again. When the evening settled into a quiet lull and the last of the customers left, Ibrahim sat in his car outside Bean Haven. He wasn't naive enough to think that things would change overnight, but he knew that he had to start somewhere. Clara was coming tomorrow, and he was ready to begin the next chapter. It wasn't going to be easy, but Ibrahim was used to fighting for what he believed in. He had built his career on that very idea. If something mattered, you fought for it. Bean Haven was far from perfect, but the wheels were now turning. Ibrahim Traoré was ready to reclaim this place, one step at a time. The next morning, Clara arrived at Bean Haven with a calm confidence that immediately put everyone on edge in the best possible way. She was a woman in her early 40s, sharp and polished, but there was a warmth to her that made her instantly approachable. Her short hair framed a face marked by experience, the kind that suggested she had seen it all and still had the strength to fight for what was right. Clara wasn't here to play games. She was here to fix what had been broken, and everyone knew it. Ibrahim greeted her with a firm handshake, his face briefly breaking into a smile. There was a sense of relief when he saw her. Claire had a no-nonsense attitude, and that's exactly what Bean Haven needed. He didn't have to explain much. She'd heard about the issues, she knew the team wasn't fully on board, and she had her own methods of making sure everyone fell into line. After a brief meeting, Clara gathered the team for the morning briefing before the shop opened. The energy in the room felt different already. Clara exuded authority without needing to raise her voice, something that Ibrahim respected. She didn't waste time on niceties, diving straight into the heart of what needed to be done. "I'm Clara, your new manager," she began, standing before the group. "I'm here to work with you, not over you. We're going to rebuild this place, but it's going to take every one of you to make it work. You can keep complaining about the past, or you can help me fix the future, but we don't have time to waste. So, what's it going to be?" The response from the team was a mix of nervous glances and a few uneasy nods. It wasn't easy to undo the damage Lisa had done, but there was something in Clara's voice, something resolute, that made even the skeptics hesitate. Clara wasn't interested in drama or excuses. She was here to get things done. The first few hours of the day flew by with Clara running the floor seamlessly. She jumped in to pour coffee when the line grew, and she handled customer complaints with a calm demeanor that was infectious. Now the assistant manager moved confidently by her side, delegating tasks with newfound authority. Ibrahim watched from the corner of the cafe, sipping his black coffee, observing as Clara's presence shifted the shop's energy. The morning rush had been steady, and the baristas seemed to be working at a faster pace. Orders were coming in quicker, and the once resentful staff were now working with a sense of purpose they hadn't had in months. Keanu's instincts were right. This was exactly the kind of leadership the shop had needed. But as much as Ibrahim wanted to believe things would settle in, he knew it wouldn't be that simple. In every business, there's always resistance, and Bean Haven was no different. By lunchtime, trouble started to brew. It began with Jake and Mia, two veteran baristas who had worked under Lisa for years and had enjoyed the lack of accountability she had allowed. Jake, with his perpetually cocky smirk, leaned lazily against the counter, ignoring Clara's request to restock the cups. "I'm just saying we didn't have to move this fast with Lisa," Jake muttered, loud enough for Na to hear. Mia, equally unmotivated, chimed in, throwing a rag on the counter. "Yeah, all this teamwork crap is just slowing us down. We were fine before." Na looked around, startled by the open defiance. Clara's eyes flickered with concern, but she didn't show it. She had the kind of resolve that Ibrahim admired. She stepped forward to handle the situation, but Jake and Mia weren't done. "Don't tell me how to do my job," Jake snapped. "You're not the boss here." Clara's expression remained composed, but Ibrahim could see the flicker of frustration in her eyes. It wasn't just a matter of getting the job done. She was also trying to prove herself, not just as a manager, but as someone who could lead a team that had fallen into bad habits. Ibrahim knew the cracks were beginning to show, but he wasn't about to let things fall apart again. He had put everything on the line for this place, and he couldn't let these two continue to poison the team with their negativity. It was clear that the new beginning he had promised would be more difficult than he had anticipated. It wasn't just about fixing the broken machinery or updating the menu. It was about changing the mindset of people who had gotten comfortable in dysfunction. By the end of the day, Ibrahim could tell that the team was divided. Some were on board with Clara's vision, while others resisted the change, not ready to let go of their old habits. But he also knew this was only the beginning. He had to take control of the situation before the rift became permanent. As the evening rush dwindled, Ibrahim sat Clara down in the back office. He could see the exhaustion in her eyes, the same tiredness he felt. But he also saw determination. She wasn't giving up. "We're not done yet," he said, his voice steady. "Tomorrow we need to take it to the next level. We're going to handle this resistance before it spreads. If we don't, it'll undo everything we've started." Clara nodded, a slight smile on her lips. "I've got this. We'll handle Jake and Mia. I'm not letting them tear us apart." Ibrahim smiled faintly, proud of the woman who was taking the reins of Bean Haven, even in the face of resistance. But the real test was yet to come. He had a feeling that Lisa wouldn't let go of her control over the shop without a fight. The next day, Ibrahim made an unexpected appearance in Bean Haven, right in the middle of the morning rush. He hadn't told Clara in advance, but his presence now seemed like the best reminder that nothing had truly changed until everyone was on the same page. His unannounced visit felt like a challenge, but it wasn't just for the staff. It was for himself, too. Could the changes Clara had begun truly take hold? Or would the old habits of the team drag them all back into the same rut? As soon as he stepped inside, the usual buzz of the cafe stilled for a moment, like the calm before a storm. Staff exchanged uneasy glances, unsure of what he would do next. But Ibrahim wasn't here to fight or create drama. He simply wanted to see things for himself, to understand what Clara was up against. The staff had no idea what to expect from him anymore. After all, he had been the quiet, thoughtful leader before, but now, with Clara in charge, it was clear things were shifting. Clara noticed Ibrahim almost immediately. Her eyes locked with his, and for a moment, there was a brief understanding. No words needed to be exchanged. She knew he was there to watch, not interfere. The kitchen was bustling, the baristas were working efficiently, and the customers seemed content. For the first time in a while, there was no tension in the air. Yet, as Ibrahim took a seat near the corner of the cafe, he noticed a few familiar faces: Jake and Mia. The two baristas had continued their silent rebellion, lingering near the coffee counter and giving half-hearted attention to the customers. Ibrahim watched for a few minutes as Mia fumbled with an order, seemingly ignoring the line of waiting patrons. She shot a dismissive glance at Clara, who was helping another customer at the register. Jake, meanwhile, was leaning against the counter with his phone, scrolling through social media as if it were any other day. This was exactly the behavior Ibrahim had been worried about. The subtle undermining of authority that, left unchecked, could slowly erode all the progress they had made. The change that Clara had worked so hard to build was still fragile, and it depended on everyone being on board, especially Jake and Mia. Ibrahim's face hardened as he stood from his seat, walking toward the counter where the two baristas were hanging back. He stood behind them silently for a few moments before they noticed his presence. Jake was the first to look up, his smirk fading as he saw Ibrahim standing there, his gaze unwavering. "Jake," Ibrahim said, his voice calm but firm. "Mia, we need to talk." Mia's eyes shifted nervously, but she said nothing. Jake, however, crossed his arms and gave Ibrahim a pointed look. "I know you two are not exactly thrilled about the changes around here," Ibrahim continued, his tone even. "No, but I've been watching, and it's clear to me that this," he motioned to the lack of enthusiasm around them, "isn't going to work." Jake opened his mouth to retort, but Ibrahim raised a hand to silence him. "Before you say anything," Ibrahim continued, "I'm not here to fire anyone. What I'm here to do is remind you that we're all part of this team, and a team doesn't work if people don't support each other. If you've got a problem with Clara's management, now is the time to speak up. But if you're here to disrupt the shop and make others feel like they don't belong, then maybe you need to reassess why you're still here." The room had gone completely quiet, the weight of Ibrahim's words hanging in the air. Clara, who had been quietly overseeing the situation from the register, now stepped forward, standing by Ibrahim's side. Her presence was calm and measured, a direct contrast to the tension Jake and Mia seemed to be carrying. "I agree with Ibrahim," Clara said, her voice steady. "This isn't about making anyone feel uncomfortable. It's about getting back to what Bean Haven has always been, a place where we all belong." Jake shifted uncomfortably but said nothing. Mia glanced down, her face flushing as if she knew she had crossed a line. "You two can choose to stay and be a part of this," Ibrahim said, his voice calm but unwavering. "Or you can go. The choice is yours. But understand this. The way we work together will define this place, and it will define us. If you can't respect that, you're free to leave." Jake and Mia exchanged looks, and for a moment, it seemed like neither of them knew how to respond. But finally, Jake let out a long sigh, his shoulders slumping. "I'll stay," he muttered, the words barely audible. Mia nodded quickly, but the hesitation in her expression remained. Ibrahim nodded, acknowledging their decision. "Good. But remember, this is a fresh start. No more games, no more drama. We're all on the same team now." The tension slowly began to lift as the rest of the team resumed their work, and Ibrahim stepped back to the counter where Clara had resumed overseeing the shift. For the first time in weeks, Ibrahim felt like things were finally beginning to come together. But he knew the real test was still ahead. The next week flew by in a blur of progress and setbacks. The tension that had once gripped Bean Haven had lessened, but it wasn't gone yet. Clara was proving herself more than capable, her leadership bringing a calm efficiency to the shop. The staff, for the most part, had started to fall in line, except for Jake and Mia, who still wore their reluctance like a badge of honor. But at least they were now working without the obvious resistance. Ibrahim had stepped back into his usual quiet role, but this time, he wasn't hiding in the shadows. He was there every day, quietly observing, offering advice when needed, and letting Clara take the reins. The changes were beginning to feel more permanent, but Ibrahim knew that the true test wasn't in the immediate transformation. It was in the months to come. What would the shop look like once the dust settled? Would the changes hold, or would old habits creep back in? He was sitting in his usual corner one morning, sipping a coffee and watching the flow of customers, when the door opened and in walked a family. Ibrahim's gaze naturally shifted toward them. They seemed familiar. A man and woman with two young children in tow, all smiles, dressed casually but with an air of affluence. Ibrahim's face softened with recognition. It was the family who'd supported Beanhaven through the darkest times, the ones who had made sure to stop by even when business was slow. As they entered, Clara greeted them immediately, her smile warm and genuine. Ibrahim stood to greet them, his expression warm with gratitude. He moved toward the counter, his focus shifting from the welcoming atmosphere to a deeper thought. Things had changed, but there was still more to do. It wasn't just about fixing Beanhaven, it was about fixing the mindset of those who had worked here, who had looked down on others. And it was about showing them that kindness and respect were what built a place, not the prices on the menu. Good to see you all again, Ibrahim said as he made his way to their table, greeting them with a handshake. The couple smiled at him, the children laughing quietly as they sat down. The woman, who had been coming here with her husband for months, turned to Ibrahim. "We've noticed the difference," she said, her tone sincere. "The shop feels more welcoming now. The staff is happier, the coffee's better. It's just all around better." Ibrahim smiled, a weight lifting from his shoulders. "We're trying," he said, "and we're not done yet. The real work isn't in the decor or the menu, it's in the people." The family nodded, their kids coloring quietly as they waited for their drinks. But as Ibrahim left them to settle into their booth, a flash of movement caught his eye. A fleeting glance of Mia and Jake at the back of the shop, watching him. They were in the middle of their shift, yet their body language spoke volumes. They didn't look like they were trying to belong. They looked like they were waiting for something to go wrong. Ibrahim watched them for a while, his thoughts churning. Jake and Mia had given the impression they were working, but there was something in the way they lingered at the back of the shop, talking quietly among themselves that didn't sit right. He'd seen this before, the quiet rebellion, the subtle refusal to engage. It wasn't just them. It was the culture of defeat that had followed them from the past. It was time for a conversation. It was time for a conversation. Later that day, Ibrahim asked Jake and Mia to join him in the back office. He could sense the tension before they even walked in. "Sit down," Ibrahim said, his calm authority clear. They exchanged reluctant glances before sitting, waiting for what would come next. "I've been watching," Ibrahim continued. "You're both still holding on to something. Change isn't easy, but it's happening here and I won't let you ruin it." Mia shifted uncomfortably. "What are you getting at?" "You're not buying into teamwork," Ibrahim said firmly. "You're still resisting. I need you to understand. This place is a family. Either you're part of it or you're not." Jake scowled. "So, you want us to kiss up to Clara?" "No," Ibrahim replied, steady. "I'm offering you a chance to change. If you're not willing to, you need to leave." Mia avoided his gaze while Jake challenged. "You think this is all going to work?" "I think it's working already," Ibrahim answered. "And that includes you." Jake hesitated but said nothing. Mia glanced at him unsure. The air was thick with the weight of Ibrahim's words. He wasn't just asking them to change. He was offering them the chance to be part of something better or leave altogether.